The Switch is continuing to sell amazingly well, and of course we also have rumors right now of an impending Switch Pro model, so I wanted to talk about building a nice setup for under $500 that's going to get you the most out of your Switch, or quite possibly get you prepared and ready for when the Switch Pro does eventually drop, assuming this isn't just one of the most elaborate bad rumors that's been going around for as long as it has. Now, of course, some of this might vary a little bit depending on what features the Switch Pro actually ends up having, but a couple of the products we're going to talk about take that into account. I really want to focus on quality, not quantity here. There's lots of cheap accessories we could just kind of pile on top of each other to hit that goal, but I'd rather really focus on what I think are important essentials and stuff that just gives you a good gaming experience. And the first thing we got to talk about is also the most expensive thing we got to figure out: the TV. Even when it comes to something like the Switch, we're really just caring about 1080p and a standard color range, the display you use still makes a huge difference in how good the image can look. Now, there's a lot of very nice, expensive options we could certainly talk about, but again, we're trying to do this on a budget and keep the full price down below $500, so you gotta make some give and take, and personally, the direction I ended up going for this is with the LG 43UN70. This is a 43-inch LED TV. It is an IPS panel, so it does have a good viewing range. Obviously, again, at the end of the day, there are nicer OLED TVs that would give you an even better image, but for the sake of what we're doing here, I think this is a really nice balance point that's only gonna cost you $300. That's using up a little over half our budget, but in terms of making sure that we have a good size screen, good looking image for the game, I think this is an excellent choice. Now, you might be wondering why we're getting a 4K TV when the Switch only supports 1080p. Well, there's two reasons. First off, with the Switch Pro being kind of part of why we're doing this, a really heavy rumor for that is not confirmed yet is that it will support 4K via DLSS, which allows it to upscale the image and actually fill up that 4K resolution, which will look a lot better. But even with the regular Switch that only supports 1080p, I still think it's important to grab a 4K TV for a couple reasons. Namely, if you want to use it for any kind of video playback outside of using it with your Switch, 4K is still really nice to have support for. And there actually is a way to get your Switch's resolution to clean up and look a little better on a nicer TV, which we'll talk about a little later. All right, now we've already used up $300 of our budget, which leaves us just $200 to work with, and the next thing I want to make sure we get a good option for is the controller. Yes, you could just use the Joy-Cons that are included with the Switch, but honestly, I don't think the Joy-Cons alone necessarily make for the best gaming experience. I think they're great for games where you're not necessarily stressed about doing skilled inputs. They're controllers you can use very kind of lazily, and there are some games that focus on their motion controls where they are great for, but outside of that context, I think having a traditional style controller is a must. Now, an easy first answer here is the Switch Pro controller, which is a good option, but I do want to save a little bit of money and pick something that, while cheaper, I think is honestly just as good of a controller and is a little bit different in its own right with the 8BitDo Pro 2. Compared to the Pro controller's $70, which you can sometimes get a little lower on sale, the Pro 2 goes for $50. It has fantastic buttons. It has a better D-pad than the D-pad on the Pro controller, along with having a number of different Pro-style features with things like having remappable buttons on the back side of the controller that you can assign different things to. You can program macros to assign to those as well. And it still supports a number of special features that are important for using with the Switch, such as motion controls. Really, the only major thing you're missing out on is the very specific form of rumble that the Pro controllers can offer, and you're also losing out on the ability to scan amiibo, but you can still do that with a Joy-Con when you really need to. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is actually three different things that are interchangeable. I know we're talking about keeping things under $500, but there are only so many ways that you can really do quality upgrades to your system, and different people care about different things. And so this next option is an additional $100 down, but you can go three different routes with it depending on what exactly you want to emphasize with your setup. And the first one we're going to talk about is the M Classic. Now, whether or not you need this for the Switch Pro depends a little bit on what features it ends up having, but this is the reason why I wanted to grab a 4K TV, even if you're using a regular Switch with it, or in case the Switch Pro does not have that DLSS feature that's heavily rumored. This is a HDMI adapter that you plug into your Switch that does a little extra post-processing that doesn't add any additional input delay, which is very important, and just helps clean up up the Switch's image on higher resolution screens to make it look a lot better. Is it the same as if the Switch was just natively putting out 4K? No, absolutely not. But it does bridge that gap a lot more, and if you're dealing with a larger screen and something that you maybe want to play a little close to, getting the crispness of the image as good as possible is really nice. This has been around for a while. It's actually a product I've never covered before because I kind of missed out on its initial surge, but I have been using it and really like the results on my screens. It's a great add-on for a regular Switch, and out of the 3 options we're going to talk about, it's actually my personal favorite. And if the Switch Pro does not end up having any kind of DLSS or 4K support, this is going to be a really nice way of improving that as well, but hopefully it does have that feature. Now, if you don't care about improving the visual quality of the game, another aspect we can instead focus on is audio. And there's 2 really main ways we can do this, and the first of which is getting a soundbar. If you really like the idea of having a more kind of home theater style setup and enhance the experience you get watching in your living room, a soundbar can go a long way. Much better than the built-in speakers in your TV. Now, because we are on a budget here and we're looking to only spend $100 on this particular part, we did end up getting an off-brand soundbar that honestly, I've never heard of the company name before. I'm not even sure how to pronounce it right. Feinu, something to that extent. But the point is that for $100, it actually works pretty good. We picked it up and tried it out, and the sound quality, considering the price point, is really nice. It gives us 3 audio input options between auxiliary, optical, or HDMI ARC, and it also includes a subwoofer still. Which, yeah, if you get a really expensive soundbar, all that stuff's normally guaranteed, but $100 getting all of that, plus the sound quality we're getting, awesome price. Now, if on the other hand, you'd prefer something that's maybe a little more intimate, maybe something where only you hear the audio and you're not keeping up everyone else playing games, maybe you need a nice quiet way to do stuff, a headset's the way to go. There's a number of wireless headset options out there you can grab for the Switch. Personally, I've always been a really big fan of SteelSeries. I've just found that their headsets are always a really nice, comfortable fit for my head shape and ear size, and the sound quality is good. And when it comes to the Switch, with a wireless option, they have the Arctis One Wireless. Like the other 2 options we're talking about here, this is another $100 option that uses a dongle to add wireless support for the headset. You can either plug it in directly to the Switch in handheld mode if you're playing on the go, or if you're using an docked setup like we're focusing on here, it comes with a little USB-C to USB-A adapter that you just plug into one of the dock's side USB ports. So with the TV at $300, controller at $50, and an upgrade of your choice at $100, that leaves us with $50 left of our $500 budget, which we're going to focus on getting a couple of necessary essentials for your system, namely an SD card and a screen protector. SD card is fairly self-explanatory. The more space you have in your Switch, the more games you can install. You can get by with the internal memory storage if you're really focusing on buying physical games, but as soon as you're interested in buying a lot of digital-only titles, or you just buy some major releases digitally, that's going to fill up really fast, so an SD card is a requirement. Now, as for a screen protector, normally the main focus of that is obviously for playing in handheld mode, so you might be wondering, well, if this is a docked focus setup, why do you need one? And the reason why is because the Switch dock has a little bit of a problem. While it isn't something that super easily happens, if you're not very careful whenever you're docking your Switch or taking it out, you can cause some light surface scratches on your Switch screen. So if you really want to preserve the quality of it as long as possible, even if you're primarily playing docked, I do think it is a good idea to pick up a screen protector, even just a basic one, so it has a little extra layer of protection. So there you have it, $500 to build out your Switch setup. Now, of course, I did talk about more items that actually goes above that if you want to grab everything that was in the video, but still, I think these are all some important essentials to pick up to really build out a setup and not necessarily bloat it with just a bunch of cheaper accessories. If you are interested in anything I talked about in the video, we do have that link down below in the description. As always, if you enjoyed this video, found it useful, whatever, make sure to like it, subscribe if you haven't yet, all that good stuff. You guys know the drill, and I'll see you guys later.